Well, good afternoon, Gerry. How are you today?
I am doing very well, Peter. I'm just going to fix this here. Yep, doing very well, Peter. Thanks for asking.
Good man. Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight, Gerry. Could you tell me a little about yourself and a little about Sinowei as well, please?
Sure. Well, I've been entrepreneurial, let's say, for the last 20 plus years. I formed a company, Sinowei, in 2019, and the object is to do business with China, whether it's on the export front or importing from China.
And tell me, how did you get into that? How did you end up in that? So 2019, so that would have been just before lockdown.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've been involved in 20 years of international trade and business within Europe mainly and North America, manufacturing private label products for people like Sainsbury's and Tesco and Dunn's and Musgrave throughout Europe. Did quite a bit of that, and just that international connectivity led to lots of connections coming from China, ironically. And so in 2018, in fact, I decided that this China opportunity needs investigating. So I traveled to China, spent a bit of time there looking around, and was blown away by places like Shanghai and Hangzhou, Suzhou, cities that were just massive populations and a very welcoming people in the business community that are open to business, unlike the bad rep that China does actually get at current times. That's not my experience.
Is there any particular business leader that maybe has inspired you or even given you inspiration over the years?
I mean, I've watched with interest many entrepreneurs, and I think probably the one that I thought was the most interesting was Tony Ryan, that formed Ryanair, because I think he was extremely entrepreneurial and innovative and risk-taking, and obviously then made a huge success out of his businesses before he passed away a few years ago.
People actually almost forget that there was actually a Ryan involved in Ryanair because of the current phase of O'Leary.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was, the story, I remember at the time, because my wife used to be an Aer Lingus hostess around the time that Ryanair were getting going back in the 80s. And at that time, Ryanair were looked down upon a little bit, because Aer Lingus in Ireland was, upmarket, as it were, and Ryanair were just these, Johnny-come-latelys. We were trying to compete on similar terms, but they weren't actually able to do that. And it was when Tony Ryan sent Michael O'Leary to look at Southwest Airlines in the United States, who were a budget airline, and said, go down there and have a look, and then came back and he said, but we have to change the whole model. So, it was revolutionary at the time, and they've changed, they've changed their travel industry for good. And I think British Airways is 10 times bigger than Aer Lingus, and Ryanair is 10 times bigger than British Airways. When you think about it, that's some achievement.
Great start, and it's a fascinating story. So, Gerry, tell me, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Oh dear, I never take much advice from too many people, but as most entrepreneurs would tell you, I think when I quit my last job 20 something years ago, the last time I worked for anybody, the boss at that time was trying to convince me to stay on and don't be going off and doing your own thing. And at the time, I was driving him to a meeting, and he said to me, look, if any advice I can give you, he said, forget about all of the things that happen in business except sales. And he said, if you focus on the sales of your business, everything underneath it, the marketing and the administration and the personnel and HR and all the rest of it, that's all irrelevant. It's about sales revenue. And when you're running a business, you must produce sales. And if you don't do that, you're going to die anyway. So you can forget about your marketing and your HR. And it was true. And it's always stuck with me a long time since. It was like, think about sales first before you think about anything else in your business.
Very good. Love that. And tell me, Gerry, who's the first person that comes to mind when you think about success?
Ooh, the first person I think the one that, because of my name being O'Reilly, I used to think about Tony O'Reilly as being, this great Irish entrepreneur who played for the Ireland rugby team and the British Lions and so on. And he was one of the first people I used to think of success. He ultimately ended up in bankruptcy, but it just shows you get the highs and the lows. Success can be fleeting as well. I don't know. I think again, back to Tony Ryan, he was always one I had great admiration for, and of others, a friend of mine who Donald Slattery, who worked for Tony Ryan, who ended up setting up he's now the third largest leasing company of aircraft in the world, based in Hong Kong. Another guy from Dublin, another guy from Tony Ryan stock, which is the other reason why I admire Tony Ryan so much, is because from him sprung many, many other successful entrepreneurs. And he created that industry within Ireland, within Dublin and Shannon, that airline leasing wasn't something that existed before GPA, which was his first company. And so an entrepreneur that creates many, many more entrepreneurs, I think is a great thing. Whereas people say, oh, Richard Branson, fantastic guy, but someone who actually can create a whole industry and can produce a lot more successful entrepreneurs. And that was Tony Ryan again, who springs to mind.
What would you say are your top 3 strongest qualities as a business owner or entrepreneur?
The top 3, I would say tenacity, resilience, and a sort of never give up, never say die attitude, because that's what it takes. I think that I've known many, many people who have started off as entrepreneurs, as it were, which people slag off and say, yeah, entrepreneurs, you mean you're broke? Or you mean you're not doing anything positive? I've known so many people who've started in business and didn't stick beyond a year, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. They give up too soon because it is very hard, and the challenges are sometimes looking insurmountable. And so, you really have to have self-belief and tenacity and blind faith that whatever it is you're doing in your journey, whilst you might have failures and things that slip away as you go along, you just got to keep going.
Who would be the ideal customer for Sinowei?
Well, in our current business model, we are looking for medium to large size companies who want to export their products or services, but mainly products, and are interested in taking on the challenge, which is China. And so medium to large size companies with good quality brands that have the resources that want to back up a business strategy to win business in China, which is not easy.
It's interesting you talk about exports to China, because so many people associate the freight coming this way. I mean, what sort of opportunities are there for Northern Ireland businesses in China?
Well, there are many great opportunities within China because of the size of the market. I mean, even somewhere where we're based, Shanghai has almost 30 million people in their population, and smaller cities that we deal in have populations of 10 million. For example, Hangzhou is, I think, 12 million, and we're opening up there in 2 weeks' time, actually. And so the opportunity, the Chinese middle class, which is one of the biggest now and largest, fastest growing middle classes in the world, have disposable income, and they're looking to spend their money on quality imported food and beverage. So things like whiskies and gins from Northern Ireland would be in demand from the middle classes. So once you get a product that would stick and work in China, then the opportunity for that volume sales to grow can be quite significant.
It's certainly fascinating, and it'll be interesting to see just how that market develops now in the future. So is there a particular book that you've read that has resonated with you, or influenced you, or a podcast even?
I'm going to be boring and go back to Tony Ryan's biography because it's the only one that jumps to my mind. But I mean, I remember studying at university, and there was different books like Porter's strategy book, or Pym's, which I always thought was a very good book to read. Just from an academic point of view, sometimes you get lost when you're running a business. You get lost in the amount of challenges and information that's coming at you. And some of those books, like Porter's strategy, was very good, and also Pym's, which is profit Impact of Marketing Strategy, which I always thought was a great book because it examined empirical evidence of companies for the last 50 years and how their marketing strategies produced either good results or poor results. A book like that has always been a good touchstone for me to actually remind myself about the formal business education that I've had back in the day that can help streamline your thinking.
You mentioned challenges there. Well, what's the biggest challenge that Sinowei is facing at the minute?
There was that thing, what's it called again? COVID, pandemic.
What was that again? Yeah.
I mean, we only opened our business in China. And I came back from China in 2019, December. And by the end of that month, I'd heard about the virus already hitting China. And by January, I knew that there was a virus in China that was closing down our business for almost 3.5 months. That was the biggest challenge. And that has remained the biggest challenge for the last 3 years. I mean, I came back from China and opened up our offices in Belfast, and then we were closed down. So between closed down in China, closed down in Belfast, what else was going to hit us? And we had many more problems, but that was the main one, that the cost of freight, for example, either going to China or especially coming from China, had gone up from, say, 2,000 for a load to 20,000. So it meant that people wanting to import from China, it was impossible to make money. And even us exporting to China, there was such a backlog in trying to get containers into the country and clear customs. So really, COVID hugely impacted us this last 3 years. And finally, China's only opened up in the last couple of months. And not ironic, but the thing about it is that our entire team, both in Belfast and our team in China, both our team and their relatives, almost simultaneously, like wildfire or bushfire, they all got COVID within a matter of days and weeks, just went through the country. And then they all got better and came back to work. And it was like, so what was that all about? So China has been at least over a year behind the West. They have a year of catching up to do. So hence they're trying to really stimulate the economy. And I think things like the invasion of Ukraine has not helped either, because that's affected raw material prices, what has a knock-on effect on many suppliers of food and beverage, like huge effect, and it has inflated costs. And we see it from many of our suppliers that their costs have gone up. Therefore, our cost of sending product to China of the goods is also has increased significantly in this last year. So look, as far as I'm concerned, we have survived 3 really, really tough years and come out the other side. So this next year or two should be great. And I can see the signs of growth, and the amount of inquiries coming at us have increased quite a lot, both in China and locally here in Belfast.
What will great look like in 2023? What are your goals for the business for this year?
Well, many. We have our food and beverage model of export to China and selling in China to retailers, wholesalers, and online to consumers in China. That's more or less settling down. We understand that model now, that FMCG selling in China. We're pretty adept at that, and we understand all the Chinese social media marketing through Douyin, Bilibili, Little Red Book, all of that in China. So that part of our business is settled. Now we want to expand into helping to import products from China, manufacture goods in China for people in the furniture industry, people in the building industry. We've already started, lighting industry, and we're doing a joint venture with a Chinese company now to set up a solar energy business here in Belfast, probably by the summertime this year. So opportunities to do joint ventures with Chinese companies is happening, and also we're getting very busy with commodities like sugar and chicken out of Brazil to China, things like this. So we're busy across a lot of fronts, and I think our team will grow significantly by the end of this year in terms of the numbers of our team.
Brilliant. Sounds like it's an exciting year ahead. So, Gerry, if somebody likes what they've heard and would like to reach out or get in touch, what's the best way to go about that?
Go to our website, sinowei.co.uk, and our contact details are there. You can contact me directly, and my phone number is on the website as well. Or if you use the Chinese social media, WeChat, we only communicate on WeChat. the Chinese and our team and our customers in China do not read emails. Emails passe. That was, back then. It's all WeChat. The Chinese WeChat is like, I describe it as WhatsApp on steroids, because you can trade, you can book flights, you can pay for a meal or a taxi, and more importantly, you can communicate and connect with. I think there's over 1 billion users of the WeChat app. It's pretty exciting thing to check out. So check out scan our code there, or go onto our WeChat, where we have our Cheers Club, and we have Sinowei, and we have Euro stores, which is all stuff that we use to sell into China.
Brilliant. Oh, that sounds fantastic. Well, look, Gerry O'Reilly from Sinowei, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It's been fascinating hearing about the birth of the business, the hibernation of the business, and the growth of the business within a fairly busy couple of years, and certainly a lot of things happening in the world. So thanks very much for your time, and I wish you every success for the remainder of 2023 and beyond.
Thanks, Peter. Much appreciated. Chat to you soon.